I'm going to look at how to add a worked example button or hint alert button, different levels of help to Blackboard questions. So normally in Blackboard we have different types of quizzes, and in my own work I've used quizzes that I've downloaded from textbooks. And the quiz question normally have a question with several multiple choice answers, where the student have to choose one of the answers and find out at the end whether or not that answer is right or wrong. You can put in feedback if you like. Some of the cognitive load literature though says that if we provide students with worked examples as they're doing a question, or even a hint as they're doing a question, it can help in alleviating the cognitive load in answering a question. In other words, it just helps them sort out the approach that they will take in answering a question. So in this question I'm just going to click one of the answers, press save and click next. But in this next question now, it's exactly the same question, except now I have a worked example linked through this show me how button. So if I click on the show me how button, it'll link to a new page where I go through the question, the details of the question in a worked example. So I won't go through the chemistry details here, this was just made up as an example, it's probably a little bit long, but here I basically go through the answer to the question, explaining how I have arrived at the answer. I then explain in a kind of a more overview way how students will be able to approach this answer quite quickly. At the end then there's a close button, and it goes back to the question, and the students now, having read this in detail, will know to click the correct answer. The next example is similar, except it's not going to show a lot of details, it's just going to show a hint. So in this case I have a show hint button added in. Again, the rest of the question looks exactly the same. If I click on show hint, this time it just puts up a little pop-up, and the pop-up just has a quick short statement that should help the students who know the basics of what they're trying to do in terms of how to approach this question. Once they've read it, they can press OK and go on with answering the question. And again, hopefully having read this, they'll be able to answer this question correctly. So that's just two different ways of approaching adding in assistance to the quiz. And again, it's traditionally there'll be feedback here, where we tell students afterwards where they went wrong. But the idea here is to give students help as they're going along so they can make a more informed choice. Chemists among you will note that I've ticked the correct answer there. Okay, so how are these buttons added? You have to cheat a little bit in Blackboard. So I'm in the Build tab now, and I'll go into my quiz where I have my 3 questions. So the first one is just a question. I haven't done anything to it, so I need to show that. The second is the question with the worked example, and the third is the question with the hint. So I'll start off with that one because that's the easiest to do. So in this case I have my question text, which I've copied the first part of here. I'm going to add in this JavaScript details, which includes the JavaScript function alert, which will show this text. So that text is the only thing that you're going to need to change each time. We then, after that, have the question title, and then the code for putting in the button. And you see here the text I've put on the button is show hint. Do not click enable HTML creator or any similar, because it seems that Blackboard doesn't like you doing this, because if you go into source view here, you'll see it has removed the function. It has actually turned it into a HTML comment by adding this angle exclamation mark dash dash. That's turned it into a comment. So I'm just going to get rid of that and the end of the comment notation there. In other words, don't go into the HTML creator, because otherwise it'll destroy the function for you. So that's basically the text that you would copy and paste. Again, all you have to change is the alert text, in other words what you want the alert to say, and the button label if you want. The worked example is similar, just a little bit more code. So again, we can go into edit the question, and I'll copy and paste what I have there into Notepad. And we see there's 3 sections again. There's the script, /script, including the details of what to do when the button is clicked. So we have a function here, openWin, that will open a new window. I have my question, and I have the button. The button has a value, show me how. Probably not the best name, so I might change that to worked example. And we have the web link it's going to. Now this might be an ordinary HTML page. Here is the page I have on the server, and I'll show you how to find that link later on. And there's some details about the web, the window page that will open that you can put in if you like. So again, the only details you'd need to change there are the link to your HTML page and the button label. So I wanted to change that, so I need to change it in the actual code here to a worked example. I'll save that and press OK. So if I preview that question now, you'll see it will say worked example because I changed the name of the button. And when I click on that worked example, it'll go and find that HTML file that I linked it to. So there's the file that we had before. So we need to tell Web Courses or Blackboard where that file is. So in my file manager, I clicked on File Manager and I created a file, called workedexample1.html, and I pasted in the text I wanted. You can write this in Dreamweaver or something if you like and just copy it in, paste it in, or you can use the enable HTML creator here, no problem. At the end I had a little close window, JavaScript, you can add that in. So that's the text that appears on that page that opens, and now we just need to know the link. So we can do that by clicking on the drop down button and choosing view file href, and that'll give me the HTML link that I paste into the code we had earlier on. And that's pretty much it. So how might we go about using this? Well, cognitive load theory suggests fading. So for example, if we had 10 questions, the first 2 or 3 might involve worked examples. The next few might just have hints, and in the last few would expect the students to have got used to the flow of how to answer these questions, and maybe you might put in links to background reading or something that they might have to go and follow up.